thing around it. And so in this particular case, there's 3 different images from 3 different times, all seen together. And then there's a detail. So this street with the sidewalk here and the street is what we see over here also. It's a representation of that same thing, but made out of individual images. Memory association machine is the project I did for my master's thesis. So that kind of started / finished around 2007. This was using the same camera, as you can see, and involved 3 different screens. The first screen is just the live feed from the camera. The middle screen is actually one of these, I call them fields of experience. It is a collage of all the images the camera's seen to date, sorted using an artificial intelligence that tries to put images that are similar to each other nearby and images that are different far apart. So in this particular case, there's actually a little bit of a black blob in the middle, where all the images are captured at night are all clustered together in one piece. The final image was my first idea of this free association or dream. So in this image, which we can't really see very easily, and it's not that interesting, is just using all these frames it's captured, shown individually, and making a sequence of each of those individual frames to show a movement from this particular memory to its neighbor, to its neighbor, to its neighbor, to its neighbor, to its neighbor. And I'll talk about that more when I talk about dreaming machine. Here's another image at the Surrey Art Gallery, where this is the live camera image. This is this dream where it's cycling through a sequence of images based on a kind of free association, and then that's the memory field at that time. And here's an example of one of the memory fields in detail. In this particular case, I believe it was a 12 by 12, so there's 12 memories wide and 12 memories high. And the one we have upstairs is 40 by 40 wide, but we only see 7 by 7, and the large prints are 70 by 70. In this particular version of Memory Association Machine, the quality of how organized things were was very, very abstract, partially because the size of the memory was so small, it could only fit so many memories inside it, and also because of how I was rethinking about the technical details and the artificial intelligence part, which we don't have to worry about too much. So Dreaming Machine started as a reconsideration of Memory Association Machine in 2008, and it was first exhibited in Norway, which this is a picture of. So over here is the same little camera, and then there's a projection. And this is on a narrow, old street in the city of Bergen. And this is the collage that was actually constructed through that 2-week exhibition. So these images that are half white and half black, kind of nearby each other, images of some siding end up being more likely to be near each other, images of concrete are kind of close together. But it still is fairly abstract in terms of how structured or unstructured it is. That really there's this play of it being, if it was completely structured, maybe it wouldn't be as interesting as if it's somewhat structured, because of the association between this image and this image might be obvious. But this image to this image to this image is something that could be considered a very creative kind of action. Oh, and then there's a detail on some of those images. So where did the idea come from? Why did I embark on looking at contacts for one, and then in this case, getting away from interaction completely, whereas resurfacing was interactive? The Dreaming Machine projects have no interactive components. So it really started with a question. Is it possible to make a machine that relates itself to its context without the artist predetermining that relation? So how could I make an artwork that would do something beyond my intention without me predetermining something really concrete about how I was going to do it? So the way I've framed that is that rather than defining how the image looks, I define some process which it uses to connect to its context. So what that means is an artwork that can respond to any context, an artwork that changes as the context, or as or if the context changes, and acts beyond the intentions of the artist, meaning that it at some point is surprising or does interesting things that I didn't predict. So what enables this autonomy? How can it do something by itself without it being predetermined? And that's kind of three pieces. Machine creativity, which is an area of how to make machines exhibit creative behavior. Cognitive science, how do scientists think humans have creative behavior? And then machine or artificial intelligence, how to make machines do things intelligently, supposedly. So I'm just going to really briefly talk about this. So the foundation of dream machine and memory association machine was a specific conception of creativity from a cognitive scientist named BEN BOGART. So Gabor provides a model for enabling creativity, which is based on the structure of memory. So rather than creativity being something that comes out of nowhere, for Gabor, creativity is actually a result of how human memories are organized and structured. The associative linking of memories is the basis of origination. So things aren't created entirely intentionally, nor entirely randomly, but actually come about as an emergent result of the interaction between a human and its environment, and that being encoded in a person's memory. So based on this conception, creativity isn't something that only creative people have, but creativity actually permeates our integration and recollection of experience, meaning that creativity is actually part of how we remember everything and how we both remember, meaning remembering something that happened in the past, and remember, meaning storing new stimulus into memory. The only evaluation is the comparison between features and memories, which is set to the structured memory. Basically what that says is, with these memory fields, it doesn't know anything about what these images are of. All it knows is how they relate to each other. So in this case, there's no absolute knowledge. The only knowledge available is the relative knowledge, which relates different elements of experience to each other. So what does Dream Machine actually do, which I kind of talked about with the Memory Association Machine? So there's a camera that pans and tilts continuously to explore its visual contents. The system integrates those images into a continuously evolving field of experience, which we saw with the memory field maps. And then the machine free associates through those experiences by associating one image with the image next to it, which is associated with the image next to it, and next to it, and so on, creating a trajectory or a pathway through memory. And this is, in the case of memory association, created by montage, and in other cases, for example, here we have the memory map and the montage kind of combined. So here's a couple of images, more images of memory maps. And this is an image of the free association. So what we have here is actually test data used to show how the system organizes things based on similarity. So almost all the empty shapes are on this side, and all the filled shapes are kind of in the middle, and then there's some more empty shapes over here. But there aren't, except for this one, too many places where there's a solid shape that doesn't belong in the place that it's at. Almost every solid shape has a neighbor that's a solid shape, and every open shape has a neighbor that's an open shape. So let's say the camera looks at something that it thinks is a square. That activates that particular memory, and then its neighbor gets activated, which is most similar, which activates its neighbor, which activates its neighbor, and so on and so forth. So at the bottom here we have a sequence of the dream from the square to the full circle. So that's just showing one of these pathways or trajectories through the acquired experience. So the self-organized landscapes, which are the large prints that we have on the bridge, there are two parts of them. There are two of them that are self-motivated, which we'll define in a minute, and the rest of them were actually, the images were collected with a video camera. So I went around in downtown Vancouver and shot video of a bunch of different buildings. I took all those video frames, made them into individual images, and fed them through the same process that's used by the Dream Machine system. And one of those is a portrait, and then the other ones are all landscapes of things around Vancouver. So here's one of those images, and then a detail. So each of these